Welcome to Back Pass with Ras, and this is your host Ras. And on this episode, we've got someone who scored one of the most iconic goals in the history of Singapore football. He's someone, of course, he's a professional, ex-professional footballer. On top of that, he's been a pundit. He's also an entrepreneur. It's none other than Mr. R.Sasikumar. How are you doing, Sasi?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on your show.
Welcome. Thanks for agreeing to be on the show. And yeah,
No, I
can
mean
you?
it's a pleasure. I've been following your work. I think you interviewed some of my ex-teammates and coaches, and I really enjoyed those episodes. And thanks for thinking of me.
Well, welcome and thanks for listening to me. That's something nice to hear right off the bat. Sasi, you're in Madrid right now. Some might know, some might not know. Whoever's listening and watching to this episode. So, what brings you to Spain?
There's a couple of things. I think, after having grown up and also been traveling around with work and football, my wife and I thought that, we have two boys, 13 and 11. They were young and we wanted to give them a different experience. We wanted them to escape PSLE, if I'm being honest. But no, I think it all coincided with me also looking for personal and professional growth. As you probably, like you mentioned earlier, I was an entrepreneur. I ran a sports business for almost 15, 16 years in Southeast Asia, kind of did what I needed to do. And then there was no real growth opportunities professionally, mentally. And then that kind of coincided nicely with my boys showing some talent for football.
Mm.
And after a bit of convincing, I like to think I'm a good salesman. So I did a good pitch to my wife. And we decided to move to Spain. And then, of course, COVID hit, right? And then that
Yeah.
kind of threw a span in the works. But after 2.5 years of COVID, we decided, okay, the time was right. We sold everything we had. We packed up 4 suitcases and we jumped on a plane and got to Spain.
Okay, how long have you been in Spain?
So this is our third year. This is our third year. And our life now goes by season. So it's the third season here in Spain.
Okay. Um, how are you adapting to life in Spain? It's a different language, different culture.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, those of you who have visited Spain, and I'm not sure if you have, Madrid is a beautiful city, very cosmopolitan. We live in a very nice neighborhood where it's safe, it's really nice. And of course, there was always a language barrier, but then it's on us to learn the language, try and assimilate into the community here. We can't expect somebody else or the people here to kind of try and adapt to us, right? So
Yeah.
we have to do all we can. And like I always tell family and friends, it's not good or bad as compared to Singapore. It's very different. The way of life of the Europeans, especially the Spanish, very laid back, and everything moves in slow motion here. Kind of what I really needed in my life at this stage. But again, I mean, we got here to experience things, and that's what we're doing, building memories with our kids, and traveling whenever we can, because as you know, in Europe, you can, jump on a plane or take a train to different cities and stuff like that, which is the beauty. And through football with my boys, we explore a lot of different places that we've never been, all across Spain, outside of Spain. So I would say right now we are thoroughly enjoying our journey, and we know at some point this journey will end. So we are enjoying it while it lasts and making the most of it.
Okay, and this journey that your sons have been on, this their footballing career, so to speak, the beginning of it. How did it come about? Were they like talent scouted or?
No, not really. Not really. Not at the age. Nobody talent scouts Singaporean boys, right?
Yeah.
That's almost unheard of. So they started playing at a young age, 3, 4, 5. I got them like every ex-footballer father. We always wish that our sons follow our footsteps. So I took them to a local football school and camp, and they played. I mean, nothing great. Actually, my elder one, Key, and he, after 3.5 years, 4 years, he kind of stopped playing. He said it's too hot because of course we were taking him to training at 3, 4 o'clock. It's too hard for a kid, and he didn't want to play. Then I thought, okay, that's it. He's not going to play. And then the younger one comes along, and there was a time that we went to Japan and for a holiday, and then we took the kids to Kidzania. And then in
Mm,
Kidzania, they have all kind of
yeah.
different things. And then the younger one, he somehow gravitated towards football, and he said he wanted to try that. So we let him try.
Mm,
And the first ball he kicked, and I was like, he's got something about him, the way he strike the ball, right? But again, I was just thinking that I'm like the rest of the fathers who think that their kids are Ronaldo and Messi, right? So I just left it alone. When I got back home, they kind of said, "Oh, Daddy put me into football and stuff like that." So I took them along to Active SG, and Stephen
Mm.
Tan was their coach, and we said, "Okay, here, my boys, let them play, let them enjoy," because I didn't want them to get too stressed about organized football. I just wanted them to play and enjoy the game. That's how it all started.
Okay. And then
And then of
it's
course
been
fast forward, right? And then
uh,
and then fast forward. So they were part of a local academy, and when we decided to come here, I mean, I've been involved in football for so many years. I've known agents, managers, and stuff like that. So when we got here, the idea was to see which city that we wanted to go to. So first we ended up in Valencia. Obviously, we had some friends in Valencia that didn't really work out because for whatever reasons. And then we were going to go down south to Malaga, right?
mm,
And that's where we were going to be based. And we stopped over in Madrid. And I have a friend of 20 years here, so we had dinner with his family. And he's involved with Rayo Vallecano. He's one of the directors
okay.
at Rayo Vallecano, the La
Mhm.
Liga team. And he said, "Hey, your boys are here. Why don't you let them come and trial or train with Rayo's youth teams?" And I was like, "Well, we're going to Malaga. We kind of decided we're going to Malaga." And he said, "No, no, no, you got to go." So my wife was really kicking me under the table because she's already booked everything for Malaga and stuff like that. We're supposed to go. Something told me that he was right. Like something inside me said, "Okay, let's give it a go." And my wife wasn't too impressed with my decision at that point in time. So we took them to Rayo Vallecano, and after the training, if I can share this with you, my elder one, he sat in the car and he was tearing, and I was
Oh,
like, "Why?" And he says, "Oh, Daddy, this is the hardest training I ever done in my life." And
okay.
then that's the point that I knew that we had to be here
Mm,
because we didn't travel all the way here to be the big fish in a small pond. I really wanted my boys to struggle. I really wanted my boys to be outside their comfort zone. So I realized that when we were in Valencia and we were in Malaga, that level of football wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
mm,
And Madrid like ticked the box. So we changed everything. We had looked at schools in Malaga. We looked at houses. My wife had to start all over again. And then we came here, and the boys started training with Rayo Vallecano. But I haven't got my visa yet. So I had
oh,
some friends in Atletico Madrid at that time who were in
mm,
the commercial department, and I kind of in passing thought, "Hey, we are here. My boys are here. Would you like to see them on trial?" I mean, they must get like this kind of request every day, right? Every
yeah,
hour, some fat
yeah.
parent is calling. So I thought really nothing of it, and I said, "Okay, let them start at Rayo and see what it goes, right? Where it goes." And then it all happened in one day. We were training on that day in the afternoon. My lawyer calls me and says, "Hey, you got your visa." And in the afternoon, Raya Vallecano, the guy sent me the registration for my eldest son. I don't do anything on a Friday. I'm very superstitious like that. I don't sign any
Okay.
documents. I like
Okay.
to procrastinate on Friday. So I leave it for Monday. On the same evening, the guy from Atletico calls me and says, "Hey, have you got your work visa?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I just received it today." He said, "Listen, we would like to see the boys for 2 weeks next week." I also think that because that weekend, my younger one played in a tournament, and he was
Uh,
probably the one of the best players in the tournament. So the word must have got around that there's Singaporean
mm,
boys here. So
mm,
I think the scouts are very active here. So anyway, went to train with Atletico Madrid. They said 2 weeks. After 2 3 sessions, the coordinator called me in and said, "Listen, we like the boys. I think they got some talent." But they got to start in the bottom team because they don't speak the language. We don't know how long it will take for their FIFA clearance. And I was
oh,
like, wow, my boys in Atletico Madrid. Okay, let's go. So that's how they got there.
okay. And now the big question, because the young boys, the big NS question, do they have to serve or what's their citizenship status like now?
I don't know how many times I've answered this question to multiple people, right? I suppose everybody's excited and want to know what the future holds for the boys. I think it's too early to kind of make a decision on anything because for all you know, they might come to me next year and say, "Daddy, I want to play basketball. I want to play chess, or I want to quit football."
Yeah.
They're at an age where it is football. It is hard to play elite level football. It's really hard. It's a struggle every day. It's a fight every day. So we don't know if they can last the pace. We really don't
Mm.
know if they can last the pace, if they're gonna be blessed with good health, not getting any serious injuries. So, but
Yeah.
I've always said this: let's cross the bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
We have obligations as Singaporeans to serve, that's for sure. But
Mm.
on the other hand, we know that 2 years away from football at the highest level, that's probably the end of your dream in Europe.
Mm.
We've had constant conversations with the authorities. We want to play by the rules because, again, in the past, you know that there were a few cases of players not really serving NS, but they
Yeah.
always had an out, right? They always had different passports. We don't have
True.
another passport. As simple as that. We are Singaporeans through and through. We can't run to India to get a passport or wherever to look for a passport, but because I'm a proud Singaporean, I'm very patriotic, so I want my boys to represent the country. But let's see when we get there. What are the conversations we will have with the authorities, and if the authorities think that it's worth trying to accommodate. I'm not saying don't do. I'm saying let's see how we can accommodate, allowing these boys to chase their dreams, represent Singapore at the highest level, and
Mm.
also the obligation to the country. So again, too early to say all this. They're too young, but we'll cross the bridge when we get there.
Okay, wish them all the best in their fledgling career. Anything that you miss about Singapore while there?
My parents, my in-laws, my friends, of course. I miss quite a bit of things about Singapore, but at the same time, I don't miss it as well because it's a different life here. Like I said, whenever I go back, I feel it's getting a little bit more crowded, a lot more people. I'm now getting used to a lot of space here. In Madrid, you go to a mall here, there's hardly anyone. The parking is
Yeah.
free. I park my car, I go to the cafe, I do my work. Nobody bothers you. I think it's the adaptation of the mind to a new environment, and going
Mm.
back to the old reminds you of the old. I think, which is sometimes not healthy for the mind. So I'm glad to always go back. Like we'll be going back for Christmas and New Year to spend time with the family and friends. We do that twice a year. But I think generally we've now adapted to life in Spain, and not really. I mean, even the food. Somebody asked me. I mean, we get visitors from Singapore almost every month here, right?
Okay.
They all bring some things, or we meet and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, and they go like, "You miss Singaporean food?" I say, "We do and we don't." Right? You know what it means. After a while, your taste palates change, and
Uh,
you find things to fill the gap, right? So, but I still miss my chicken rice. I still miss my carrot cake. I still miss my Sammy's curry, and I miss all of that stuff. But not enough to say that I want to move back home.
okay. And of all countries in Europe, why specifically Spain?
Interesting question. You asked that. Maybe I would say 15 years ago, or maybe more than that, maybe 20 years, close to 20 years ago. My wife and I, we toured Spain and Portugal.
Mm.
Funny enough, with Irfan and Iksan at the time, Fundis,
Okay.
the Fundi boys. Fundi had told me to say, "Hey, can you see if you can organize an experience for the boys?" So we took them on a tour for a month. We went all over Spain, and that time we were jokingly saying, if we were ever to live in Europe, it'll be probably Portugal or Spain for many
Mm.
reasons. The climate is fantastic, the food is
Yeah.
great, the people are nice. It's not like say UK.
Yeah.
It's dark, it's raining all the time. It can be very depressive. You don't see the sun. In Madrid, even in the winter, you see the sun, so which
Mm.
is good. So, and it's easy to live here. It's really easy. So we thought, and then on the other side, I looked at the football part as well. I think Spanish football minus Portugal is probably the closest to Asian football, right?
Mm.
It's a very technical game, and boys coming from Asia, it's not so much about the physicality, it's about how technically good you are. And it's proper development here. And needless to say, they are world champion, European champion, Olympic champion, women champion. They know how to do football here. And that's one of the reasons why we decided to move to Spain.
Mm. Okay. All right. Now going all the way back to your formative years, your childhood. Where do you spend your childhood years at?
Yeah, I'm a long way away from Yishun. I know before people judge me, yeah, we are different in Yishun. That's where I grew up, Ang Mo Kio in the beginning, and then moved to Yishun. My teenage years were spent growing up in Yishun, like most boys, playing football with the neighborhood boys and stuff like that. Both parents, in that era, had to work because they
Mm.
were chasing different things, and pretty much left us to our own device to do things. And I had an elder brother, 2.5 years older, and he of course played football as well. And and two of us were always up to no good, running around the neighborhood and stuff like that. But it was an interesting childhood in the sense that we were very independent. We had to entertain ourselves. In those days, obviously, we didn't have the mobile phones or games and
Yeah.
stuff like that. We came from a very humble family, so we didn't have too much things to, I mean, call luxury. We didn't have all of that. We had to fight for what we had. And my father was a really hardworking man, so we hardly saw him. But we understood that he had to do things for the family. Now that I'm a father, I understand that completely. Yeah, that's how it started. We played all sorts of games. That's just not football. We were really good at table tennis because those days they had a table tennis table under your
Under the
block.
block.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, so we were really really good playing table tennis. We would play under the block, football. We used to have all sorts of tournaments that we will organize ourselves. And as usual, we got into a lot of scraps, right? That's how we grew up,
Yeah.
right? Fighting and playing football. So kind of
Running away from the police as well.
yeah, a lot of the times, right? And the neighbors and stuff like that. So it was a memorable, I would say, childhood in the sense that we played a lot. We played a lot, and that contributed to our growth, our character today. And yeah, it was fun growing up in Yishun. Obviously, like anybody in life, that you have your ups and downs. But I think overall, it was quite a memorable childhood growing up in the, in the north part of Singapore called Yishun, where everybody thinks that we are all weird here.
And you were introduced to football by your brother?
No, yeah, I mean father and brother. So we were, playing in the neighborhood. I must say that when I was young, those days there was no organized football. There were not enough clubs. You just play
Yeah.
with your teammates
Yeah.
and stuff. I was so bad. I mean, I was not the most talented kid. I was big, so because I was big, they said, "Okay, play in goal. You're a goalkeeper because
Yeah.
you're absolutely useless with the ball. So go in there and use your hands." That's how I started as a goalkeeper. And then
Okay.
and even couldn't get into my neighborhood teams and stuff like that. The memories of those days. We grew up in Malaysia Cup. Remember Malaysia Cup days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I would still remember that we were living in Yishun. The MRT didn't come all the way to Khatib at the time. It stopped
Okay.
at Yio Chu Kang, so we had to take a bus to Yio Chu Kang, jump on the train, go all the way to to Kallang, and then walk with the thousands and thousands of people into the stadium. And as a kid, you always dream that one day you'll play in the stadium, right? That's your dream, right? And
Yeah.
I look back at it now, and then I laugh to myself because sometimes when I set goals, right, and it seems ridiculous.
Mm.
But looking back at the goal I had when I was a teenager, telling my friends, my kampong boys, right, hey, one day I'm gonna play in the national stadium, and you guys are gonna come and watch me. And they used to say, you can't even get into our team. You want to play for the national team? You know how the banter is with boys, right?
Yeah.
Um, but but it was the dream and the belief that got me where in my football career. But again, I always use that as an example whenever I set goals now. I mean, if I could get to the national team from where I was, nothing is impossible.
Mm. Inspiring words. Do you get into your school team though?
Yeah, I did. I did. I went to Whitty Secondary School,
Oh,
and that year we had a really good team. We've never, I mean, we haven't qualified for the nationals. I don't know, was it like 15, 20 years? And that year we had a good team. We qualified for the nationals. I think we finished second or champion in the South Zone. And that year I got selected for combined schools.
wow.
So that's where it really kind of started for me. But my first love was hockey. I was really a hockey player.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was a hockey
That's my
player.
second sport.
Yeah. So I was actually in the Singapore under 15 hockey team. And
Okay.
then I got dropped from the hockey team when the team was leaving for a tournament. I hit this growth spurt, so I became really tall. And then the hockey sticks were too small for me, and my dad couldn't afford to buy me a
Longer
custom stick.
one.
So I remember the coach telling me, he said, "Listen, you are a good player, but not good enough for my team." So I always thought that when a door closes, a window opens, and
Mm.
that's where went into football. So I thank that coach for dropping me. So there are some key people in my life that I like to thank because he's one of them. Because if I had kind of made the team, I would have probably be a bit more serious in hockey, which really wouldn't have got me anywhere in Singapore. But I think that kind of a heartbreak at a very young age then diverted me to football.
What's the coach's name?
Sukhvinder Singh, Suki. Probably you
Okay,
know him. Yeah, he was a police officer before.
all right. Had to
Yeah.
be a Singh. I had guessed he would have been a Singh.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? He was a good guy, but in that trip, I still remember there was some controversy. He kind of mistreated the players. Actually, the MP, D'Souza, what's his name? Uh, what's his
Right.
name? D'Souza, the MP for he's a PAP guy, and yeah, he
Uh,
was he was actually my teammate, SJI
okay.
boy. Yeah, so he was our goalkeeper. He actually was a really good goalkeeper.
Mm.
Yeah, so yeah, and played with some really good players. But again, my journey in hockey ended and football started.
And then when you were in the school team and playing for the combined schools, were you already a defender at that time or still a goalkeeper?
No, 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 no. Funny enough, I was a winger. That's how I
Oh,
started, a
nice.
winger. And then the coach said, "Okay, listen, you're not a winger. Like go and play center back," because I was getting really big and I was aggressive. So I kind of made up for my lack of skills with my aggression and my mentality. Maybe I had a tough fighting spirit and I was hard to beat. So the coaches say, okay, this guy's a big lump. Let's put him at the back. It must be hard to beat. So yeah, so I think it was a easy decision for the for the coaches.
And in those days, do you watch? I know there wasn't much, we didn't get as many live telecast matches on TV, but of course, you would get the World Cup matches, you would get the weekly English Premier League, Italian Serie A highlights, and all. Do you watch much of that?
Russ, probably you remember the only thing we got on TV back then was Road to Wembley. Remember
Ah, yeah,
that
yeah,
on a
yeah.
Sunday,
Okay.
right? Road to Wembley, and
Yeah.
usually was the FA Cup that they showed. And that's how I became an Everton fan. Before you laugh at me, yeah, I'm an Everton fan because
Right.
those days the red used to play the blue. So my brother was a Liverpool fan, and I said, okay, I'll
Okay.
support the blue. Right?
Okay.
Those are the heydays, and today we are
But
still
Everton
suffering.
was strong in those days. I think this is
They were really
something
strong.
you
Yeah, they
still
were really
follow.
strong. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm one of the three Everton fans in Singapore, I suppose.
There's more. I met some. We had an episode with Everton fans before.
Okay, okay, yeah, poor guys, but yeah.
Yeah, and your all-time favorite footballer?
I've got a few actually. I mean, when I look at a defender, I like Maldini.
Mm,
I like Jaap Stam. These are to me like top defenders.
mm,
Vidic, guys like that who not very skillful but old school defenders.
mm,
Like Puyol. These are all old school defenders. You don't find
mm.
them these days, right? They all
Yeah.
try to be fancy and cute. I also, really, really loved to watch Eric Cantona, even though I was not a United fan. Cantona was like a poet, right? He was like an
Yeah.
artist,
Yeah.
right? And I really enjoyed watching him play. So these were like my international heroes. Terry Papanathan was my homegrown hero. I still
Okay.
get the fanboy moment when I see him until
Yeah.
today. I get like a bit of jitters when I see Terry Papanathan. Of course, D. Devaraj also, as I was growing up, was my hero. I wanted to play as a striker like him. So yeah,
Yeah.
we had a few players growing up.
All right. Now going to your professional career as a footballer, how do you get your first professional contract?
Like I said, I was a accidental footballer. After I finished, I was in a combined schools. Then I went to a club called Gibraltar Crescent
Okay.
up north at the time, and I was part of the under 19 and I was part of the senior squad, but never played one game for the senior squad.
Mm.
And I was playing in the under 19s, and then one day, all of a sudden, I got a letter from FAS saying that I've been called up for the second national team.
Okay.
Okay. And I mean, second national team. I'm playing in the under 19s. Never played senior football. So apparently,
Second
Robert
national team would be the B team, right? In those
B team,
days.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and mind you, those days, this was the Malaysia Cup days. The B team are all stars as well, right? Those guys who don't play, your young guys and the reserves. These are all household names, right? And apparently, Robert Lim, who's a very well-known scout and young, I mean, he's a youth coach in Singapore for many, many years. He had watched me play the under 19s for Gibraltar Crescent, and then he invited me. So there was a bit of a confusion because there's another Sasikumar, the guy who does podcasts and stuff like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And he was in the same team as well. He was playing with under
Yeah.
19s. He also in the and he already started playing with the senior team. And there was some confusion that maybe it was him that they called.
Yeah.
After a bit of clarification, it was me. I can tell you that I was so nervous. I was so nervous the day before. Training was at 5. I was already, at the station at Jalan Besar at 3, just
Yeah.
walking around. I couldn't sleep the night before because I knew that this was the one opportunity in my life that can completely change everything for me. That was the day I was waiting for. That was the day that I was training hard for all my life. And when the opportunity came, I was super nervous, like super, super nervous. So I go into the dressing room and I see all the guys that I actually watch on TV in the stadium now
Yeah.
sitting in the dressing room, and they all are looking at me going, "Who's this guy? Like, we never seen him play in senior football. Like, how come suddenly he's in the dressing room with us?" And then training started, and I did what I had to do. And Barry Whipwreght at that time was the coach. He had just come to Singapore. He pulled me aside, and he said this to me that I'll never forget. He said, "Listen, son, the size of you, the physicality of you, you remind me of an old-fashioned English centre back.
Mm.
If we don't make you a national team player, I would have failed in my time here." Okay,
Oh.
and then I made the team. I made the team to go to Indonesia. They were going to Surabaya for a tournament. It was the Independence Cup. So I went along and I played. I played against Malaysia. I remember, and I had to mark as Tanasega. I don't know if you know this Kedah striker. He was the top
Uh,
striker in Malaysia at the time. And my first assignment was to mark Malaysia's top, at probably at the time Southeast Asia's best striker, right? And I had to mark him. God bless, I had a blinder of a game. I had him in my pocket for 70 minutes, and they substituted him. So that was basically my life changed after that, to be honest. And that year when we came back, I played really well. Came back and immediately got into the Gibraltar Crescent first team,
what
having
year
not
was
even
that?
been. This was 94,
Oh,
right? 94.
94. Okay. Okay.
I then eventually was drafted to the under 23. I made the 1995 Malaysia Cup squad. I was
Yeah.
I was in the squad. Douglas Moore was the coach. The team was in New Zealand for preseason when they announced that we were gonna get kicked out of the Malaysia Cup, right?
Yeah.
So yet, I mean, I came so close. It was so close. I was probably months away from making a debut because Douglas Moore had a chat with me and he said, "Listen, I'm bringing you in because he wanted to replace the old guards." And he said, "Listen, your time will come. You will play in this season, but you just need to be patient." I was like, "Just give me a shirt." But it was not meant to be. And then I continued with the under 23s in the Olympic team. We had a fantastic run in the Olympic setup with Barry Whitbread being the coach, and that coincided with me going to national service. So I finished and I went to national service, played for SAFFC, and I was probably the first player to be transferred. And then the S League started. S League was launched in '96, and then I moved from SAFFC to Geylang, and that's where I got my first professional contract.
Oh, Geylang. Okay. I was
Yeah.
thinking SAFFC was your first professional club.
No, I was there. I played in the first because it was they had Serie A and Serie B. They had two
Yes,
two two
yes,
series, right?
yes.
So the first series
They call it the Tiger. One was it Tiger series and
and then
Pioneer
the
series.
Pioneer, yeah. So for the
Yeah.
Tiger series, I actually played for SAFFC. I was actually the captain of SAFFC. At
Hmm.
that point in time when Ivan Resnovic was coach, and we had the five Croatians, and we had a couple of national players. But at that point in time, I didn't really get along with Vincent Subramaniam. He
Okay.
didn't, he didn't, we didn't. I suppose he didn't like me, and maybe he misunderstood me or whatever. So I really didn't feel comfortable staying with the club. And then, Geylang came calling, right? Yeah, Patrick Ang. And when you get a call from Fandi Ahmad, it's hard to say no, right? So Fandi called me and he said, "Listen, we want you to come and join us. We have a fantastic team. We're going to win everything. Would you come? And we need younger players." And at that time, Geylang had two World Cup players, Hamid Asli, Mohammad Kakpo. They had Jalal Talebi. I
Hmm.
think I would say 90% of the national team was Geylang. If you look at the bench, we could probably feel another ex-internationals. It was star-studded, right? So, and I thought, yeah, that would be a good move. The contract was fantastic. I really loved the leadership of Patrick Ang at the time, who was the chairman. Fantastic gentleman. What a veteran of the game I just liked the setup of Geylang, so I moved there, and it was a good move because we won everything that season.
Yeah.
And then I got into the national team after subsequently.
How long were you there in Geylang?
So I spent 3 seasons in Geylang. I was in three seasons. I was in Geylang, and then the financial crisis hit.
Yeah.
and we all had to
Yeah.
take a pay cut, and then that kind of coincided with the Tiger Cup in '98,
Yeah.
right? And Home United came in because they were going through a major reshuffle at the time. They had finished seven. They probably were one of the well-resourced club. They were really punching below their weight, and new management came in and said we need to change this up. And at that time, Mani Subramani was
Mm.
also earmarked to move there. They were going to bring a couple of great foreign players like the one you interviewed a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
Anita Pai,
Yeah.
Vlado Bosinowski. So it really boiled down to Mr. KT Velu, who was the team manager at the time.
Mm.
He came and personally talked to myself and Mani and really sold us the project and said, no, we're gonna go win things. You guys gonna come. We need the national team backline if we're gonna do something with this. So I had other offers. I could have stayed in Geylang, but I really like the idea of going to Home United because they presented a fantastic project. And the fact that money was moving, ID was already there. We were the backbone of the national team at the time. I really felt comfortable playing with them. And I knew that we were going to win something. So that's where we decided to move. I decided to move to Home United. And I was right because they had a fantastic general manager in Mr. Nordin. The chairman was fantastic. We had a teammate. I mean, the team manager was good. My teammates were amazing. I mean, that season, like Ernie described in his podcast, um, we knew we were going to win something. We knew
Mm.
we were going to win something. We didn't know what we were going to win, but we knew because the team spirit was fantastic. We had foreign players that were real leaders. We all looked up to them.
Yeah.
Ernie, Bozinowski, Zobooks, Ekmar.
Mm.
And then we had the back line. I mean the local guys. We were like the senior players there. Myself, ID Mani, Azmi, who was the club captain, who was a police officer as well. So we had young players coming through. So fantastic, fantastic club, and rightfully we went 14 games unbeaten and won the league that season.
So is it going back again to your time at Geylang? Is it right to say the time at Geylang started on a high and then declined
Yeah,
as the
no. So I
seasons
would say
went
I would
by?
say it was fantastic. Geylang was really really good. We started really well, and then with the financial crisis, they started to cut a lot of budgets and stuff like that. And then even when they cut budget, we were a very competitive side, very competitive side. We were doing really well, and like most things, when you start tinkering with people's livelihood, especially
Mm.
contracts and money stuff like that, people lose motivation very quickly, which was a pity because I thought we had a really good team that I was there in 96, 97, 90, 95, 96, 97, and 98. And 99 we moved to Home United. So I had 3 good years there. I mean, I would say that I enjoyed the leadership of Patrick Ang, who until today I think is one of the best leaders in football in Singapore football. He never kind of negotiated or argued or debated with you over your contract. Like contract extension is you walk in and you say, how much do you want? You name your price and you sign the contract. He was
Okay.
that kind of guy, right? He was that kind of guy where he won't say, "Oh, low ball you." No, he was a perfect gentleman. And then you kind of give your price and you go like, "Ah, I should have asked for more," that kind of stuff. But you walk away feeling that you are. He paid a,
Appreciated.
yeah, yeah, appreciated, and I think the good thing about him that he kind of respected that you were a national team player, and you
Okay.
knew your own worth,
Mm.
right? When you ask that kind of like he was a master at that. So I played with really good players. I mean, again, Kadiyaya, Zulkarnain Zainal, the two young lads at the time were Amal Latif and Indra Shadan.
Yeah.
We had the World Cup players. Then we had some English boys that come, Neil Ellison and all these guys who played in good level in England. So I really had a good time and good coaches, Jalal Talebi, Douglas Moore before, Jalal Talebi, Robert Lim. So we had some good coaches there that taught me a lot. And then I played alongside, for example, like in the last year, played with Jiang Jung,
Ah.
you know, and he taught me so many things about defending. I mean, the guy, is an encyclopedia of defending, right? He's real old school,
Mm.
tough. And then he would really drill into me. He was like, why do you mark here? You don't mark here. And then, I mean, I would like to share one story with you about Mohammad Kakpur that completely changed my mind, right? So I came to training. I mean, I was a national team player walking into Bedok Stadium with flip flops on. And
Oh,
then he
okay.
looked at me and looked at you, he said, you professional player? He got his, you professional player? I said, yeah. Why is he asking me? National team player? I said, yeah, yeah. Why are you wearing slipper? You going to market?
Okay.
Say if something falls on your leg and that's it, you're gonna get injured and you're gonna be out and they're gonna cancel your contract. From that day on, I never ever ever wore slippers again. From that day on, even if I left the house, and that's something that I tell my players now. I tell my sons now. It's a small thing, but it's a detail that even from a perspective of how people see you when you turn up for
Yeah.
training in your trainers and your socks, there is some sort of
Image.
professional image, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, this the kind of small things that those players taught me that stayed with me forever.
Mm. Okay. Now going back, now you fast forwarded to your time in Home United. Great first season at Home United, and then you built on that. Your first coach was who was it?
Robert Edwards, yeah.
Robert Edwards. Yes, yes. Robert
Yeah.
Edwards
So
was
for
good
my
coach.
3 seasons, I mean, I signed a 3-year contract there, and the 3 seasons were Robert Alberts. We started off well, I think, with Robert because he knew where we were coming from and stuff like that. So it was good, but I didn't get along with him. I really didn't get along with him. But what I want to qualify is that he was probably one of the best trainers, like a coach I've ever had in my life, because he was
Mm.
very detailed and his trainings until today I kind of call back when I'm doing training with my boys and stuff like that. He was detailed, he was really good at that, but as a person I didn't like him. He to me he was not the best. He would never receive Christmas cards from me, right? He had it in him that he was he had
Abrasive.
a few yeah, he had a few players that he liked, and then the rest were just numbers, which is fine with me. It's a job, and at the end of the day, right, it's a job, and I'm going there. My job is to impress him. He's not there to impress me, right?
Yeah.
I have to impress him. But along the way, I didn't like a few things he did. Now, on hindsight, that I'm much older, I would have done things differently. He tried to play a few games, but that's okay. I think he did what he had to do to keep the stuff. But at the end of the day, putting everything aside, we were a very successful team. We won trophies together. Right, we won
Mm.
trophies together. We won the league unbeaten. Well, beaten in the last game, and then the next 2 seasons we won cup. And one of the cup finals we smashed Geylang 8-0. I mean,
Yeah, that was a
I, yeah,
crazy scoreline.
yeah,
How,
yeah,
okay, that match, okay, how did it unfold that you smashed them 8-0, your former club as well?
yeah. I know.
It's not like they
Uh,
were, like a poor team as well. I think they had still got quality in their squad.
they had some really good players there. I think it was a combination of few things. They thought that we were going to play with a 3-5-2 formation, and
Mm.
all of a sudden we were playing with a 4-4-2 formation with me as a left back.
Okay.
Right, as a centre back, and he put us as left back, and I think that kind of derailed their plans and stuff like that. And I would say that was one of those games that everything we touched turned to goal. Like
Mm.
everything we touched.
Mm.
Ekman was on fire. They couldn't stop him. And then we had the Brazilian guy called Morelato. He was also on fire. And then he scored a bicycle kick from outside the box.
Mm.
I still remember that. He scored a bicycle kick from outside the box. Everything we touched turned to goal. And also, early in the game, I put a tackle on Brian Bothwell, and then he got injured. He went out, and he was the key player. After Brian left, because he was a tough guy. He was a tough defender. I mean, it's a tough striker to play against. Even for, I mean, all three of us, we were like Money, myself, and the back four. We were like, how are we going to manage this guy, right? Because he was physically very strong. And then I put in a tackle, and that was it. He couldn't play. Thankfully for us, because I think he would have made a difference. And then after that, it was all one way.
Okay. And in
Yeah.
your career, do you do a lot of work, physical work to improve your physique, get stronger in the gym?
Yeah, when I made the national team, when I first was discovered or scouted to the national team, I was 1 meter 90, 275 kg. Right? I was skinny, and the
Mm.
wind could actually blow me. So Barry Webber at that time said, "You know what? You can't play international football 190 to 75 kg. It's just impossible. You can't. So we need to put you on a program." I went on the gym program almost twice a day because I was in SAFSA at the time, so we had a lot of
Okay.
time. I
Okay.
was training 3 times a day, twice with SAFSA, and then the third one with the Olympic team. So I
Mm.
was I went from 75 kg to 85 kg. I put on 10 kg of muscle, and then in 98, I remember 97. That's when I made my debut against Beirut in Lebanon. I was much bulkier. I needed to do that, and I see that with my sons now. My elder one is 13. He's 170. He's skinny as hell. So we need to get him on a program soon.
And in those days, you had those supplements, the protein shakes and all. Did they
Nah,
come in
none of that,
play?
man.
None of
Nah,
that.
none of that.
All
Yeah,
natural food.
Yeah, I mean, the sports science was almost non-existent at that time. It's what the witch doctors will tell you, right? Or the old housewives will tell you how to get fat or how to get fit. There
Ah,
was
yeah,
nothing. And then my when I went to the gym, it was a PTI in my in my camp that's basically say, oh, just do this, do this, do this, right?
yeah.
So it was pure brute and work with no science behind it.
Mm. Okay.
Which sometimes I feel that if we had that kind of support like the boys have today, perhaps maybe we could have gone a lot further. But it was what it was back then. Yeah, we just had to do what
I'm
was
sure
told
a
us.
lot of eggs and potato.
Yeah,
In-
eggs, potato, rice, and pasta and stuff like that. So imagine coming from Yishun in an Indian household, trying to convince your mom you had to eat pasta. When you are used to
Less
eating
less
rasam and all
oil, less salt, all that.
yeah, so it was strange times for us. It was strange times for us, but we had to learn quickly that diet and a lot of credit must go to Barry because he kind of Barry Whitbread changed our mindset about food and diet and stuff like that because like how Arsene Wenger went to Arsenal and completely changed the culture there with food
Yeah.
and alcohol and Barry did that to us, which boys after training would go and eat nasi lemak, kacang pool, and all this kind of stuff, and then we had to go and treat protein bars and stuff like that, or milk shakes or whatever, right? So it was a big shift in culture at that time, but we're glad we were exposed to those things because right now it makes a lot of sense.
Mm. Okay, now from Home United, you moved to Jurong FC. How did that move come about?
So at the end of my term with Home United, I went to Europe. I wanted to play very
Oh,
badly in Europe. That's how my dream was to play in Europe.
mm,
I missed out an opportunity when I was at home. I had an offer from a Hungarian second division team.
okay.
Home United didn't want to release me because I was on a contract. So I said, okay, I waited till I finished. So I went to France. I went to France to trial. I went to a club called Wascal in
Mm,
Lille.
mm,
Agent took me there. Not the best experience, but I thought I did enough to earn a contract. But unfortunately, the agent got a little bit greedy and wanted he wanted I think at that time was like 50,000 francs for a player from Singapore where the club is struggling in second division trying to go down. So
oh,
that didn't happen. So I came back, and the club basically said, we already got our team set up, and we are not your surplus to requirements. So in Singapore, the top contracts don't linger around too long, right? They snap up the best players, and that's it. So when I came back, I didn't really have an option. And at that time, Jurong. Sundram called me and he said, actually, it was a funny story. I'll tell you another story before how I ended up in Jurong. At that time, Venga called me
mm,
for Woodlands Wellington. He called me and he
mm,
said, I know you're out of contract. M. Karatu is our coach.
oh,
Come and have a chat with him. So I went down. I went to Woodlands Stadium. I entertained them. Um, and I went into the meeting, and Mr. Karatu at that time basically looked at me and he said, "Introduce yourself." I introduced, and he said, "What have you done in football?"
mm,
Right? So then I was like, uh, I won all there was to win with Geylang at that time. Then I won whatever there's to win with
Home
Home
United.
United. Won with the national team, and there's a coach that's come into their league asking me who am I and what have I won, right? So obviously he didn't know who I was. Obviously, he maybe didn't have me in the plans. Maybe the management looked at it and I said, you know what, sir, thank you very much. Maybe this is not the club for me. So I left, and I think at that point in time, Sundram got wind that I was out of a club, and he called me and he said, "Listen, I want to meet you." So I met me, and he said, "Listen, I want to bring this kind of mentality to the club. You want things. We want to win something, and I want you to be the captain, but we can't afford to pay you, right? Jurong story, right? We can't afford to pay you." And I was already planning my transition from football. I'm like, after I came back from Europe, I was like, if it's not going to happen in Europe, no point for me to prolong my football career. Like it's going to end at some point, right? So
Yeah.
let's think about it. So I said, okay, let's think about either getting work experience, starting a business, or something like that. So I thought, let's do that. And I said, perfect. Let's play part time. I had some savings. I said, okay, let's play part time with no pressure, with a team that's not really challenging for anything, but I can come in and help, and let's see what happens. Lo and behold, that season became one of my best seasons ever. Out of
Mm,
33 games, I played 31 games. I was the captain, led the team to the cup finals. I had a fantastic season. Even I surprised myself this season because I played with some really, really good players. And Sundram, I think, gave me the responsibility and to lead the team. And we had a fantastic run. And then following season, Tampines Rovers came in for me.
Was Sundram the player coach at that time?
Yeah, he was a player coach, and one of the things I really appreciated about Sundram, he repaired my career. Right,
Uh,
I was kind of lost. I didn't know where I was. You know, when you don't get those professional contracts, you kind of doubt yourself whether you're really there. And funny enough, that year Jan Paulsen was the national team coach. I had many people, even the media, come to me and say you should be in the national team.
mm,
I never got called up for the national team. And that was the year that we lost 4-0 to Malaysia. And
yeah.
it was really painful to watch that, knowing that you could have made a difference. Jan Paulsen called up players that, in my opinion, maybe didn't even deserve to be called up. I would say that again, just purely statistics, 7, 8 games, 10 games into the season, we were top of the table with what they used to call us the Dad's Army. You know, they used to call us the Dad's Army, and again, played an important leadership role in getting the team to the cup final en route beating Geylang, beating SAF. And we were very unlucky in the finals as well. I mean, Mustafik Faruddin, I remember he caught me very early in the game. He put in a tackle. My ankle was swollen like this big and played for 70 minutes. And as soon as I went out they scored from the resulting corner. And George Gutsulis in the media afterwards basically said, "Hey, the captain left, and that's how I scored because he had me in my pocket." So things happen for a reason, and but I really enjoyed my time because there were a bunch of honest people at Jurong. Sundram, I think, repaired my career. I'm eternally grateful for that. He made me fall in love with football again. He let me discover that there was a different side of me as well, and that I was still good enough as a player in the league at the time.
And what was the atmosphere like playing in the Jurong Stadium? It's quite famous, the atmosphere there.
Yeah, you should ask the visiting teams because they would. It's like we were the Wimbledon, right? That
Yeah,
nobody
yeah,
wanted. Nobody wanted to play us. We were super aggressive. We were super aggressive, and that's a real pity, you know. I mean, when you look at a club like that, and it's no longer in the Singapore game because fans got excited. I mean, you don't want to come, and it was a fantastic stadium. I mean, it's a football purpose stadium, right? Everybody's
yeah.
like bunched in, and there was a great surface and. Fantastic neighborhood, hardworking, everyday folks that just wanted to come and support their football club. It was like, it reminded me of a neighborhood club in here in Madrid or in England, right? You
Mm,
wait for the weekend and everybody got excited. And then
yeah.
we had the King Cobra, Sundram, every time coming on, people get excited, you know. So it was good. I really enjoyed my time. Seriously under-resourced. You know, there were times where we were not paid on time. I mean, our gear was nothing. I mean, I'm used to Geylang and Home United and stuff like that. You get everything,
Yeah.
and then you come here and you like. So I had to change the way I thought about things. I had to help the club along, help Sundram along, the management along, speak to the boys, and be the voice for the players with the management and stuff like that. So again, I learned different skills. Like I said, Mr. Benjamin, the chairman at the time, Coach Ravi was the assistant at the time, Ravindron Sundram, and my teammates. You know, eternally grateful for them because they made me fall in love with football again.
Mm,
That was the beautiful part. I lost faith and I lost myself for a bit. But you know, 31 games, 33 in 33, 31 games in 33 game season. Going to the cup final was special for me that year.
mm. And then you move on to Tampines, like back to another big club.
Yeah, I mean, Chow Kwai Lam, the late Chow Kwai Lam was coach at the time. Again, I had a fantastic cup final. They've been tracking me, and then they wanted to kind of rejuvenate. Chow Kwai Lam at the time wanted to rejuvenate his squad. He had a couple of guys that he wanted to obviously get rid of. He saw me that I played a very important leadership role in Jurong. He wanted that he wanted to build something in Tampines. So we had a chat. The very next day, they came, and you know, when Tampines comes calling, they have resources. They have an open check, right? So it was good. I mean, it always feels good to be wanted. So I had a chat with Chow Kuai Lam first before even saying yes, and he said, "Listen, I like everything what you've done. I followed you. I know who you are. I've spoken to people. I think you can come and eventually lead this team, right? So they gave me a 2-year contract. It was probably the best contract I ever had in my career. And I said, okay, maybe this is the second wing, right? I was 29 at the time, 28, 29. I said, okay, maybe I could play and actually try to get back into the national team. I said, let me try and get back into the national team and stuff like that. Uh, After halfway through the season, the wheels came off. It didn't end well. Let's put it that way.
Mm. Okay. Want to expand on that?
Yeah, I will. I will. Zhao Gualam, as we know, he is a man that is his own man, right? You can't tell him what to do. And probably at that time, the chairman wanted to have a bigger say on the lineup, who plays, who doesn't.
Okay.
Zhao Gualam is a veteran at this. He doesn't he doesn't take to these things quite nicely. So there was already tension. And it all kind of culminated in the game. I believe it was Tanjung Pagar. Two of us were out suspended, myself and George Gutsulis.
Okay.
And mind you, I was playing out of position in Tampines Rovers. I was signed as a centre back and I played as a defensive mid because they had to move Nasri backwards to play with
Okay.
Muratovic, and I was getting on a little bit, so they put me in midfield. I did quite well. I think I scored 2 goals, 3 points, 3 points, gave 9 points, 1-0, 1-0 win for Tampines. We were top of the table, I think, or second on the table at the time. We were riding high, and we were a really good team though. And we didn't play, and that 0-0. And those days, the S League at the time was if it's 0-0, it goes to penalties.
Oh,
And we lost the game. I was away. I think I was in Bali at the time, and I was not playing. And the next thing I know, that I found out that the coach got sacked the next day.
okay.
Okay, the reason they were cited is because he didn't wear the club colors. He didn't wear the club polo t-shirt. I said,
Okay.
okay, very convenient, right? This
Yeah.
is a top coach, and you sack him because of that. We knew what was brewing.
Who
And
was the
then,
coach?
sorry,
Who was the coach at that time? That
the
was
late Chow Kuai Lam, the Malaysian coach, Chow Kuai Lam.
okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So Coach Chow. So, I mean, the guy has won many things in Malaysia. He's a well-known
Yeah.
coach in Malaysia. So, a real gentleman, old school. He values ethics, respect, and kind of stuff. Like my kind of coach. I really enjoyed working with him. And then he left, and then in came a disaster of a coach called Des Bulpin. This Irish guy who was, I think, at SAF at that time or something like that.
Okay.
uh, Came in and immediately started playing these politics games and stuff like that. He figured things out, like who's who, and he knew that the last coach sacked because he was not in line with the chairman and stuff like that. So, and then I played the first game, and then we won the first game. Second game against Jurong, my old team, we lost at home, and then things started getting a little bit, and then things went from bad to worse. Like. And he started introducing a few things, which in my opinion was okay. Like, for example, we had to eat together before a match day, right? He
Mm.
would cater, each of us had to put $10 into it, pasta, stuff like that.
Oh.
And I thought it was a good idea, but you know what the boys were doing? They were throwing the food away.
Oh.
They wanted to eat their lontong and laksa and stuff
Yeah.
like that. They didn't care, right? And I was looking, and they were throwing stuff away. And then like I said, the discipline in the dressing room was going back to us. Like there were players smoking in the dressing room.
Oh. Yeah.
I was allergic to smoke, so I would sit outside
Mm.
when I come and train, and he would walk past and he goes like, "Why can't you be part of the team?" I said, "Well, go inside, have a look, and then let me know if I'm wrong or not." So you walk in and then you walk out. You say, "No, I'm gonna sack these players." I said, "Listen, you do what you have to do. I'm a professional." So they knew that I had the 2-year contract, so they and I was a lot of money at that time. They needed to get rid of me, so they did all they can. So the coach was promoting under 18 player to play. I went like I would say maybe 14 games in a row not playing. I was on the
Oh.
bench. I would warm
Okay.
up. Never ever done that. I was okay. I mean, it was a job. The beep test, I was the second best in the club after Kim Leng. I turn up first for training. I leave last. I did not want to break a single rule because I know what they would try and do, right?
Uh-huh.
Put me in the prime league and stuff like that. I played. And then when things got really bad, like we were losing games, and then he turned to me and said, "No, I want you to start playing and help me."
Mm.
So we started playing, we started winning, and then he was like my best friend, and I said, "Listen, no, it's done. There's nothing between us. I'm a professional. I'll help you win." And then eventually he got the sack. I
Okay.
mean, there were players in the dressing room challenging his authority.
Mm.
Like he would say something, and the players would say to him in the face without naming names, he said, "You won't be here next year, we will be."
Mm.
Like that. So it was disaster. It was a complete disaster. It was a complete disaster. So, um, and 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 the season ended. The club came to me and said, "Hey, you're not playing. We need to cancel your contract." I said, "Hey, you know what? Not a problem. Pay me out. I've got a contract, right?" And I really didn't want to end my career that way.
Ah.
I mean, I had a good run, and then eventually we agreed to some terms. I left the club. On hindsight, that was probably the best thing that could ever happen to me in my life.
Mm.
When I still see the chairman today, I go to him and I see him. I say, "Hey, thank you so much for doing this to me. Because if you didn't, I still will be, doing something in football in Singapore, maybe still playing or something like that. Because he forced me to get out of the game and do something else." So, no hard feelings. I think it had to happen. That was my life's journey. It was supposed to happen that way.
Mm.
But I didn't like how it ended. It was sad for me. Like I was truly, I didn't want to play football after that. Like again, I could have done a lot more. Yeah, I said, okay, maybe this is time to transition.
Okay. But you had a second stint at Home United before you
Yeah, I
hang up
mean,
the
the
boots.
the 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 first 6 months when this league started it was tough for me. It was really tough because I knew I was at the top of my game. I could contribute a lot more.
Mm.
I won't say depression. I was sad. I couldn't get out of bed. Nothing seemed to work for me because I look at my ex teammates or teammates playing week in week out, and then they're playing in the national team. I miss the dressing room environment. Like I'm like, what am I gonna do now? Like, money starts to run out as well, right?
Yeah.
And like you saved a bit, but like what are you gonna do now? So my wife at the time said, "Listen, hey, get up and try doing something." So I started to work, and halfway through the season, and this is where, like I said, some people in my life really made a big difference, and Steve Darby made a difference. I spoke to Money and I said, "Money, you know what? I just want to have a chat with Steve and say I want to end my career in my own terms. I don't want to end like this. I just want to be a part of a team where eventually I say, okay, that's it, I'm done." And Steve, I mean, probably the best man manager I've ever come across, and a top human being to start with first. And you can ask every of his player; they will run through walls for him. So we had a chat, and he said, "Listen, I've got my squad. Okay, I don't have the budget, but I know who you are, what you've done for this club, and the boys here like you, and you're probably a good pro that deserves a better end to your career." So he said, "Come, be a squad player. I'll play you, and then you'll be involved with the international games because we were in the Champions League and stuff like that. I'll give you time, but I don't want to disrupt because there are other players there." I understood it completely, and I said, "Steve, that's enough. I will earn my place. If I deserve it, I'll play." So that's how I got there, and like I said, it was such a pleasant environment. We had some great players there. It was really good to go back to the club that I really loved from the beginning. I didn't want to leave. I had to leave. So at the end of the season, things took a turn. I had an opportunity to move to Australia to work, and I said, thank you very much to Steve Darby. Gave my hugs and said thank you to football forever.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice way to end. You ended on your terms as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was important that I ended on my terms, and like I said, those people were really, really important people in my life, like Steve, Home United, and the players around.
Home
They made
United is
me.
the Home United is the club that's closest to your heart.
I would say so. Yeah, Home United, Geylang always has a special place in my heart. It's a big, big club. But I think at my best times in Home United, and yeah, I would say Jurong comes close because they for a different reason.
Yeah. Talking about Jurong as well, who were some of the best players you played with in Jurong?
I would say Rafi Ali was there at the time.
Okay.
Rafi is always a great player, and we had this little Korean called Park Tae-won,
Uh-huh.
right? If we kept it 0, we know he will score, right? If we defended well, we know that he was good enough to score. Played with my really really good friend Fabio,
Uh,
Fabio de Silva. Fabio
yeah.
could run for days. Fabio could run for days. Eric Francis, my one of my best friends in football.
Mm.
Uh, so we had good players, and then we had the young boys like Precious was making his debut at the time. Precious was
Okay.
coming through. We had some Razali Ahmad. We had some really good boys there.
Mm. Overall, in your S League career, who were some of the best players you played with? and
Uh,
against?
Played with, I think, would be, of course, the trio, myself, Money, and ID at Home United.
Mm,
We were hard nuts to crack. We both for national team and club. I think I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. We haven't seen that kind of a back three, back four for a long, long time.
okay.
Because we understood each other. We were good friends off the field, on the field. We played with a three zonal. I don't know how people play with three zonal, but we played with three zonal marking, and we knew exactly what to do. So I would say they were good. I mean, best players: Mohammad Kapur, Amir Hestili, Ernie Tapai, Bozinowski, Zob Books, Ekma. Those are the guys that were like top of the game, top of the game. The and Fandi, of course. I think Fandi was my teammate towards the end. Sundram, magic in training, just magic in training. Even at the old age was just magic. And those guys were all special. Those guys were all special. I would say like the lessons I learned from the Iranians were special.
Mm.
The ones that I played against, Ali Dai.
Ah,
If you remember Ali Dai,
yeah, I do.
he was going to Armenia Bielefeld. We played in the Philips Cup. I was under 23. We played against his club Piruzi. Marked
Okay.
him out in that game, and but he was on another level, man. This guy was on another level. I also played against Andy Booth. Remember the Sheffield Wednesday striker? He was
Yeah.
England 23. Huddersfield came. We played against them. Yeah, some really good players like that. Overall, I had a really good career. I think for my ability, from where I came from, I think I have to thank the people who found me, Robert Lim, Barry Whitbread, along the way, good coaches that I had, Steve Darby, Vincent. We made amends towards the end. We have where, I mean, in fact, the other day he just texted me. I went to Bangalore to meet him at the time. We put aside our. He was my national. Actually, he called me back. I think that's where I think 2001 Tiger Cup in Songkla.
Uh,
I was already off season. I was in Phuket. I was just taking it easy, and my mom calls me and say, "Hey, they called you from the national team." I was like, "No, nobody's calling me from the national team. I'm not part of it." So I had to travel back. Travel back. Kade was injured. Coach Vincent wanted me to be back on the team, and yeah, I think we said we put our differences. I say I will fight for you. You call me back. I appreciate it. I'll fight for you. So there's a lot of people that helped me along the way, and I'm again eternally grateful for them.
mm. Among the local strikers you played against, aside of Fandi and Sundram, which ones gave you the toughest time?
Locally, I think Alam Shah is always a handful.
Mm.
Alam Shah is always a handful. He's a very sneaky. Stephen Tan.
Uh,
Yeah, because he was quick and nippy, and he knew how to play against us. Like especially me, he knew how to he'll run dash across and stuff like that. So he made life difficult. I mean, they're tough guys to play, but I wouldn't say they're like impossible to mark, right? And like the
yeah.
only guy I would say locally that was even at my best he scored against me was Fandi.
Okay.
Right, we played in the Philips tournament. I was on the top of the game. I had him 70 something minutes. I had him in my pocket. We went to sleep for a bit. He scored. That's quality, right? I mean, that's
Quality,
funny, right? So that's funny. So I would really say that I would put him in that category of unbelievable strikers. Like, yeah, he's on a different level. He's on a
yeah.
different level. So alongside Sundram, these two
Mm.
guys, I think we will never find another two talent like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now talking about the Singapore national team as well, I'm sure you get asked this a lot about the shoulder of God. How, I, I don't know how many times has it been that people have asked you. You probably would be, for every time people ask you that question, you might be a millionaire now.
Yeah, probably maybe billionaire as well. But
Yeah.
there are always some moments in life that you are remembered for, right? You're known for something. And my calling in life was to create history like that, and the way that I scored the goal. And interestingly enough, the other day somebody was talking. I was watching a show where it was Iniesta who scored the goal for Spain in the World Cup,
Yeah.
and then they kind of freeze that frame, and then they rewind it back to his moment when he was a kid playing the what we call a barrio, which is the neighborhood team, right?
Mm.
That's where he started. So if we had to freeze that frame after me scoring and then rewind back to my days in Yishun playing with my teammate, I've come a long, long way. Like too long away. It
Yeah.
probably would be easier to climb Mount Everest than what do what I did, right? So yeah, people ask me that. I think besides the goal, it was all the trials and tribulation, right? It was I mean, I didn't have it easy. I didn't have it
Mm.
easy, and rightfully so, because I didn't have the talent. People didn't see me as a potential. There are some people who believed in me, but there were like a lot of people who didn't believe in me. I had a lot more people who didn't believe. Even in teams that I was, they were like, "He's tall, he's clumsy, he's this, he's that," you know. But all of those was, I would say, on hindsight, with a lot more wisdom, is that that was the oxygen.
Yeah.
That was oxygen that
The
kept me
fuel to
going.
the
Like,
fire, right?
yeah, fuel to the fire. Like when I had to do those 5 kilometers along around Khatib camp, right? I used to think about the humiliation, right? He
Mm.
will come to nothing. This guy is nothing, and suddenly I got second wing of fitness to run more, right? I was running more. So again, thanks to all those people that didn't believe in me, because again, no hard feelings. It is what it is. That's just the nature of human being, right? The moment
Mm.
you realize that, you become really powerful. So that was the oxygen, and that was I would say that that goal was a culmination of all the hard work that I put in between. People don't see it. People don't
Mm.
see it, and rightfully so. Nobody should really see it. It's what you do in the dark that puts you in the light, right? That's what they say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I would say that that was a nice cap off to my really tough journey, gaining recognition. And until today, I mean, I go to Vietnam, people remember me. I mean, again, with Singapore, people recognize me and stuff like that. It's nice to be always recognized, to be remembered for creating history. It's nice, and my boys talk about that all the time. You know, they look at me watch me playing football now. Then they always ask, "Did you ever play for the national team? Is it true?" You know, because I can't walk now, let alone play. But that was my calling. That was my calling. That was my. I think that was my calling in life. That was my duty in life. That's me.
Was that the best Singapore national team that you're part of? The best squad you're part of?
Yeah, I'll watch your episode, or the snippet of what Rafi said
Yeah.
to you about it was really strange, and it was really different. I tell you why. Because for that squad, for that tournament, a lot of the senior players decided not to go because we are under serious fire. Like Barry, was that was his last tournament anyway. People were expecting us to get kicked out early. And then Barry, I think, with that not so much pressure on him, decided that he will promote a lot of his Olympic, because we had worked with him for 4 years prior.
Mm.
He trusted us. That 3-5-2 system, it was, we can do it in our sleep.
Mm.
He trusted us, and he incorporated some of the senior players who could guide us, right?
Mm.
And I think that was coming together. Then we had Rafi, Nazri, Rudy, and Kade were the four senior guys there. We went into Ho Chi Minh. They got into the dressing into the room. Nazri was the captain. We had a huddle. We walked away from that huddle, and I've been part of that national team before. It was really different. It was actually now that I look back, it was quite weird. Like there was a certain spirit. Maybe in Malay they call it semangat, right?
And yes.
Within the players that was never evident previously.
Mm.
So maybe going into the tournament as an underdog really did us a favor. Really
Mm.
did us a favor. And then there were a lot of people, a lot of young ones, like say myself, Money, and a few others, were all trying to prove our worth, right? And
Yeah.
like we need to win something or be part of the national team. And then after Malaysia, we had this quiet confidence that this was gonna work for us. We beat Malaysia 2-0.
Yeah. Yeah.
Easy. And then when we drew with Vietnam, that was, I think, was the turning point. So I would say that team had something special, really something special.
Mm.
Yeah.
And how would you sum up your time with the national team, aside from that moment?
Uh, some of the national team, only maybe I won't call it regret. I wish I played in the Malaysia Cup. I really wish I played in the Malaysia Cup. I was yet so close, yet so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed. I should have played a lot more. I think I should have got a lot more caps than I deserve, especially when I was in Jurong. I should have played a lot more. I should have been considered. I didn't. And I think at the end of the day, you look at people like Money, ID, who went on to play more than 100 times. They deserve it. They were real pros. And I, while I played, I always had my mind on my second career. Like I was really, really concerned about what happens after football.
Okay.
I didn't want to become a coach and stuff like that. So I suppose subconsciously I was maybe sabotaging myself. You know, who knows? But I was so proud to wear the national team shirt. I served my country twice. I went to national service and I played for the country. So I always say
Yeah.
I served my country twice, and I continue to serve my country. I'm very patriotic. You know, it gives me goosebumps when I see the national team players line up and they put their hand on their heart and wear the national team colors. For any professional player, for any national team player, you could just have to ask him when the light goes off. That's something that they miss the most.
Mm.
That's what you miss the most. So I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed to have played for Singapore.
And in your time with Singapore, which were some of the strongest nations you faced, and also the toughest strikers?
I'll tell you a really nice episode. 1997 Sea Games, last group game against Thailand. Okay, we were in Indonesia. So we needed to see who finished top of the table. Tong Hai was injured. I think Bohan was injured. So myself and Mani got a chance to play with ID. That's the
Mm.
start of the back three. We were up against Thailand. They had four top strikers: Natipong,
Yes.
Piapong, Kiatisak, and Waterwood Srimaka.
Okay.
Top,
Oh,
all top guys, right? So it was
yeah.
myself and Mani doing a man marking job, and ID was the libero. First half, we had to mark two. So I was marking Piapong, and Mani was marking, I think, was Kiatisak. Okay. And then second half, I had to mark Waterwood, and Mani had to mark the other one,
People.
Natipong. Yeah. After the game, we were dead. Like we were fit. We were dead. Finished 0-0. Because in midfield they had Surachai, Apicha, Tawan, and the way they played football is that they will run towards the midfielder, and then they will pause, and then they'll spin around us, and these guys were capable of just dropping the ball behind
Mm.
them. So we were doing these doggies and just running forward and turning and run the entire game. I had blisters. I couldn't walk after the game, and I still remember that four top strikers, and they still couldn't get past the three of us. Uh, to
That's
me,
some
until today,
memory.
yeah, that probably was like, yeah, I think would be. You gotta ask Money. I probably he will remember that one as well. So, yeah, that was special. That was really. I mean, Thailand was always. And we came so close to qualifying for the Asian Cup. That year. I think it was '97. We were leading 2-0 at the National Stadium. We were 10 minutes away. We messed up. We drew 2-2. They went in on away goals. We like touching distance. Again, we would have
Uh,
created history, right? Unfortunately, it's not meant to be. But Thailand was always good. Indonesia was always good when we traveled. And back in those days, we didn't play a lot of A internationals. That was also a pity because now the boys play a lot of A internationals. We used to
yeah.
play a lot of club sites and stuff like that. We used to go to Australia. Again, that would have really chalked up a lot more caps, international caps for me.
Mm. And any famous players that you exchanged jerseys with? Was it much of
Uh,
a tradition?
no, 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 no. I mean, the probably the most famous jersey I had was of that guy, Lee Hun Duk, the top striker of Vietnam after the Tiger
Uh,
Cup. I have that. I'm not a big swapping jersey kind of guy. I have a few. Yanagi Sawa from Kashima Antlers. He was the top Japanese prospect at that time. We changed, but I wasn't. I don't know if those days we were even allowed to swap because the clubs couldn't afford to buy extra shirts and stuff like that. No, I wasn't big on those things. But I have some nice memories, nice shirts of national teams, and my boys every now and then force me to take out and tell a story about the each shirt.
that's nice. That's lovely. Do you notice this about young fellas that nowadays they don't really want to know about the history of the game, and it's not like when we were younger, we would like to know what happened before our time. Do you
Yeah,
notice this difference?
yeah, yeah. Maybe my boys are a little bit different because I have a history of playing, so they want to
Yeah.
know. They find out a lot more. Because I also think that the internet generation today they can find out things by themselves. They don't have to ask anyone. Probably they are researching or searching something that we don't know, right?
Mm.
And the attention span is so short these days that they just want everything
Quick,
fast, yeah,
quick.
quick, everything digested to something that's more palatable to them, a TikTok video or
Mm.
something like that, a reel or something like that. Nobody wants the long grandfather story, right? Yeah, but I think you're right there. You're right there. I think this generation not really interested in history.
Okay. And what's your opinion on the state that Singapore football is in today?
Do we have 3 days to talk about this, or? Now, I think in a nutshell, we are where we are. Some bad decisions we made in the last decade or so. People in charge and the leadership role made some strange decisions, perhaps at that time that suited themselves more than the game. And then the general public, people in charge just started to think that being mediocre is okay. Making those mediocre decisions are okay, and we are paying the price now. And now that we have woken up from the slumber and say, hey, all our neighbors have just, got past us, and what happened there? And then obviously the finger pointing happens. He didn't do this. He didn't do this. He didn't do this. But it's too late for that. It's really too late for that. So I don't like to say too much, but I just hope and pray and feel that at the end of the day, people in charge put qualified people in roles. What has happened for the longest time is that you ask a bus driver to fly a plane, and the plane never takes off, and then you blame the bus driver for not doing his job, right? With no disrespect to bus drivers. So over and over again, I mean, I've been involved in the local game for more like 2 decades now. I It's a pattern that repeats itself and it never ends. And then we wonder why things didn't happen. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science at all. I mean, you just have to look across the causeway, look in Indonesia. When you put people who understand and passionate about football, things change
Yeah,
dramatically. Things change. If you look at what's happening in Indonesia, things changed. Eric Tohes knows what he's doing. The TMJ knows what he's doing, right? And
yeah,
he surrounds themselves with no. And don't get me wrong. They don't make 100% right decisions.
yeah.
Majority of the time, they make right decisions. That's all you need. You need to be correct 70-80% of the time. You
And
can't be 100%.
especially who you advise by as well.
Yeah, the thing these days that I see, which is, I see from the outside now that I'm European, and and I look at it, I have to laugh. You got people who used to be models running football clubs as technical directors. You've got guys who are 3 times the size of a normal human being, having crazy BMI index, who are going around looking for talent. So I mean, it's not a look good, and it's not a good look, right? And again, I don't want to be harsh, but if you want the truth, this is the truth. We can decide to say this is not the truth. We can always, the hardest thing to do is be real with yourself,
Mm.
right? And for the longest time, we have not been real with ourselves. Like, I mean, you just like ask the key positions of people of influence. You just have to look at that. You just have to look at that and and go like, now I see what's happening. So in every other place in the world, especially in developed football, you will never get that. It's frowned upon. It's a taboo to have these kind of people in football, right? But for us, it's completely okay. Uh, then don't cry, don't complain, right? So this is my thing, right? So for me, it's like I always say, if it's too hot in the kitchen, get out. That's what I did. Didn't like what it was, I left.
Yeah.
So chart your own path, and a lot more people are doing that now. To be honest, a lot more parents and kids are doing that now. My
Mm.
advice to a lot of the kids, I mean, the good thing that can ever happen to Singapore football is this UTR project.
Mm.
At least something's being done, right? So can you
Yeah.
imagine if there was not an initiative like UTR, what the state of football would be in Singapore? It
Yeah.
will be a complete disaster. So glad that's happening, and hopefully we see some change. But we really need to think about the people who are in position of influence, the people that we bring in as so-called experts. What are
Mm.
they? Sometimes we are blinded. We're blinded by a lot of things. We don't go into the root of of the person, right?
Doing due diligence, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Where the person come from. How can you talk about winning when you're not won anything?
Mm.
How?
Yeah.
How can you talk about winning when you're not won anything? It's
Yeah,
it's
that's
it's impossible to tell the kids that you got to be having the winning mentality, and you've not won anything yourself. Like, what if the kid turns around and say, "What have you won?" Right? It
and
can
it's
be a
capable. The kids today are capable of doing that.
100% capable, but you got those kind of people like leading football and running clubs and doing I don't know what kind of talent ID programs they're doing. It's just embarrassing. I mean, people looking from the outside in will laugh. They laugh at us. People
Mm.
laugh at us. So but if it's good for people who make decisions, it's good enough for me. It's sometimes I say it's above my payroll, so I just stay in my lane.
Mm.
But again, at the end of the day, so you do you. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've mentioned before about while you were playing, you were thinking about your second career, life after football. So, what do you do to prepare yourself for life after football?
The very important thing is to kind of have an idea. of what you want to do, the direction you want to hit, right?
And is this
Um,
okay? Sorry to cut you. I want to understand this as well. At that time, amongst your peers, is this something that you're doing that is a bit of a novelty? Like not many people were thinking the way you were thinking?
nah, Ras, I'll tell you something, right? My dad was always in my ears, like, you need to study, you need to do this. My dad always asked me, like, even my mom, when I was playing for the national team, one day I was at home, she said, "Hey, you don't go to work." you know and I say, "Mom, this is my work. Who you think pays for all this?" Right? So for them, like, house, I mean, work is going to
Yeah,
the office and stuff like
yeah.
that. So I was around that environment where people were always telling you got to do something, got to do something. So I was at that point in time I met my wife as well. She was like, "Okay, you got to start doing something for the future and stuff like that." I didn't really want to be a coach.
Mm.
I didn't really want to be a coach. I had an opportunity to become a coach at that point in time. The technical director offered me to be an assistant to the Singapore under 17, and I asked him. I said, "Boss, what would be what would be my pay?" He said $35 a session,
Oh,
and
okay.
I was living in Pasir Ris at the time, and I said, "By the time I go to Jalan Besar and back, I have no money to eat or anything." So I quickly realized that being a coach in Singapore can't pay bills, right? So and what I was more interested in entrepreneurship. I was more interested in the sports side, the business side of sports. I was really interested in that. I finished my master's in sports management and marketing. So I stayed in school and I finished that. I think that was really important. I
Mm.
finished that, and thankfully I got into the punditry sites because I right after I finished, ESPN called me in to do punditry, and I did all the media stuff for almost 15 years. That opened up some doors, and I said, you know what, I want to start an agency. Then I started an agency. It was tough. I mean, people looked at me like, "You're just a footballer. Like, what do you know? Right? What do you know about business, and what do you know about sports business?" People laughed at me. So my business career almost mirrored my football career.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, in the beginning, people laugh at you, right? Like, "Who are you?" Like, and then the same thing. Then when I went into business, like, "Oh my God, I'm starting all over again." Like, it feels like I'm playing football again.
Mm.
But again, really thankful to football that it creates that character, that determination. You're only as good as your last game, kind of a mentality.
Yeah.
So I started my business with a credit card and a service office. I still remember very clearly. And then I sold the business in 2016 to a big Japanese conglomerate. At that time, we were valued at $10 million.
Wow.
Uh, Almost 60 staff over 5 markets. We did some of the stuff. The Lion City Cup. We had a online radio station. We did multiple international projects and stuff like that. So came a long way as well. But that was a struggle. That I mean, you talk about football being tough. Building a business, I have no hair or gray hair is because of that. But I'm a much better person for it because I believe that entrepreneurship is the highest form of self development,
Okay.
right? And probably you understand this as well, being an entrepreneur
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And now I'm here. I'm in Spain. I'm starting from zero. Last 18 months we've done really well. We Because I knew how to do it again, so it was easy for me to
Okay.
come and do it again. Not easier. I won't say easy. Nothing's easy. Not easier. But the playbook is there, right? So I'll be 50 next year. So taking it easy, building stuff. But I learned a lot along the way. I learned a lot. A lot of people helped me along the way as well. But it was a fantastic ride. Like it was good. I discovered a lot of things about myself, people, about leadership and stuff like that. And then, of
Okay.
course, took me around the world as well.
Mm. And what exactly you're doing in Spain? Your job?
Yeah, so right now I've got a business that I built it out of my own necessity because I was trying to put my boys in Europe and it was a nightmare trying to navigate this bureaucracy. So I started a player pathway company. So it's basically
Okay.
helping players from all over the world come here, study, get registered, play in the league, and around that we've kind of built an ecosystem around it, right?
Mm.
So we have a technical training center we are launching in March. Now, actually, tomorrow I'm flying to Lithuania because we are looking at acquiring a first division club in Lithuania.
Okay. Nice.
And we're looking at a software. So I started also a holding company where like-minded professionals are coming together, high net worth, and say, "Listen, football is sexy. I want to invest my money in football." These guys
Uh,
have all done well for their life. So that kind of projects keep me going. That's probably my main business at the moment. But it gives me a very nice balance being a father because after three, I'm a father full time football dad We drive the boys to training, watch them in training, analyze training. Yeah, it's full time. That job is full time. So half a day I'm building my business. At the end of the day, now I'm not building a performance business in the sense that I'm not building it to sell. It's a lifestyle business. It funds our life and it grows organically. So I'm not in a hurry to add another zero in my bank. We are blessed. So just building something that is meaningful now. So helping the next generation of players, families, to help them navigate this web of the football world, right? And inspiring them with my own journey with my own boys, because I'm a father with two boys
Yeah.
to start with. That my experience is valuable. I live it every day, so
Yeah.
people see they connect with me. That's a community that's attracted to what I do.
Yeah. Hopefully there's some success story that comes out of this, of your business as well, from through this work that
Yeah. No, but the thing is, I think at the end of the day, my principle, my philosophy is very simple. If you really love what you do, you're not too worried about the byproduct, because it will happen. It will
Mm.
happen. Like genuinely,
Great.
you do things, and I see some talent. There's really good talent there. Hopefully, starting with my boys and the rest that are coming through our pathway. I see a lot of talented players coming through. Inevitable. The numbers. Someone will make the grade.
Okay. Do you watch a lot of football nowadays?
I do. I mean, by the virtue of being in Spain, we watch a lot of La Liga. The channels here are crazy because you get every kind of football. So Saturday, Sunday, after the boys play, we are in front of the TV watching games. We go to matches. I watch a lot of youth games. Like last season, I watched 150 youth games.
Okay.
I enjoy watching youth games more than I watch professional games, to be honest.
Uh,
I see a lot of talent. So, I mean, football is my life. I get up in the morning, we talk about football. I work in football. Yeah, I'm blessed. I mean, I live in it. Like I said, after this, I've got a meeting with, having a coffee with Rafael Varane.
wow.
Uh, yeah,
Okay.
so he,
Como.
he he lives in my neighborhood and he wants to be involved with the work we do. So yeah, I mean, again, being in this part, it's like Madrid is where football happens.
Mm.
So you bump into people, you meet people, and people like what you do. So we connect and do stuff. Yeah.
He was just in Como, I think, a couple of days ago, and he's
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of
he
the
lives.
club.
Yeah, he's a club ambassador, and he's not too far from me. He lives around the
Ah,
same neighborhood. Has
okay.
moved back in Madrid. His sons play in the local team that I have a lot of players. We bump into each other. I mean, he's an ex-pro. I'm an ex-pro. I went through what he's going through, so we have a lot in common. Sharing, of course, at a different level. I mean, he's a World Cup player, and in his presence, I try not to even talk about my football career, which is like non-league compared to what he's done. But fantastic guy, fantastic human being. Very eager to learn. So if I can share my own experience, it's a good friendship to have, right?
Okay. So while we're recording this, of course, Singapore is on the cusp of making their AFF Cup debut this in for this edition. Through a tournament that's synonymous with you. Would you be keeping in touch with how they're doing?
I would be. I mean, at the end of the day, like I told you, Singapore football is always close to my heart. But let's just like to say that I just hope that the Southeast Asian countries don't see this tournament as their World Cup.
Yeah.
While it's a big tournament, I also see this as a huge disadvantage to the ASEAN countries, because then when they win this title, everything else they forget.
Mm.
They start to think that, and this was our problem when we started winning. We didn't see the problem that was coming down the corner. Everybody was happy, everything was brushed under the carpet, and then when you took it and said, "Oh my God," and everybody raced past us, right? So I would say that we can use that as a very good platform to bring fans together, teams together, but this cannot be our World Cup. This cannot be our World Cup. And now, as you can see, it's
Yeah.
losing more of its importance. The top players not coming, right?
Correct.
And then I think the AFF has to reconsider, like, where's this standing? It is an important tournament, but it cannot be the be all and end all for ASEAN
Yeah.
football.
True. All right, Sasi, thanks a lot for taking the time to speak to us and sharing so extensively as well about your career. And most importantly, I feel about your experiences in life, what you've gone through. Think that's something perhaps not many people know. So it's really a big eye opener for everyone who's watching this. Because I'm sure, you've mentioned about getting criticized. I'm sure there'll be people who were watching you as well in those days, were thinking like, how did this guy become a national team player or professional player? Or even when when you were doing your business and all, and you're up there, people were will obviously be jealous and will be talking, this guy was nothing lah, this guy's a crook lah, a con man, or you know how it goes, right? So
It, such is life, right? Such is life. You
yeah,
can't. You got to have haters as well, so that you know that you've arrived somewhere. But of course, it hurts. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm human too. You don't want to be labeled. Also, you get upset and stuff like that. Then you think about this, right? A lot of the times, I'm pretty sure when you post this on your socials, that some guy will say something, right? I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But I came across a very nice saying many years ago. The the lion doesn't care what the lamb says, right? The
yeah.
sheep says it's still going to eat the lamb, right? Or they eat the sheep.
Mm,
Right? So I always think about this. Do I really care about what people say? I don't. I keep doing. The sun will rise again. I will do the things that I do again. The people who love me will love me again. The people who hate me will hate me again. In fact, sometimes the people who are the closest will be the ones that will judge you and do all that stuff. I've had a lot of those episodes in life, but it only makes you stronger. Um, and I always say this: someone who's doing worthwhile in life or doing something worthwhile in life will never criticize a guy who's doing something because he
mm.
knows the journey is hard,
Yes,
right? He
yes,
knows, like you doing a podcast, somebody will say, what the hell podcast you're doing and all that. This is hard. I mean, I've been there. I've been in the media for many years, my shows and stuff. This is hard what you're doing. So if somebody criticizes, it's obviously they're sitting behind the computer and going like, yeah, nobody did anything. So if you want to do something, be ready to be criticized because it's easy to just do nothing. And I say this to my wife: it's easy. We can live a very low life, don't do anything, and not get criticized. But that's not our calling. I mean, I know my life is supposed to be inspirational to the other people. I brought my boys here. They have a big role to play. Even if we inspire 3 or 4 kids, we've done it. That's we fulfill in life. We're blessed that way. You don't need to be friends with everybody. You don't need to be popular. Life is not a popularity contest. It's not. Right. So I'm happy where I am. I'm happy to be criticized. I'm immune to these kind of things. But I bless them. Being critical is thank you because you take time to look into my life and criticize me. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank
and
you.
you talk
I
about
appreciate.
blessing as well. Does spirituality play a part in your life as well to get you through life? In fact,
It's big.
just
It's big. It's
good
big
times
part
and
of my
bad.
life. Yeah, it's a big part of my life. I mean, I meditate. But the awareness of the mind is the most important thing. Like,
Mm,
if you can control what's in between your ears, right, you become really powerful. You
yeah,
become really powerful. So I do a lot of that. Just being aware, like just being aware. I think without being too woo-woo about this, that the universe wants to give you everything. It's just up to you how you get it.
yeah,
Yeah,
true.
everybody deserves the best, in my opinion. It's just that how you go about doing it. Because if you play the victim card, you always be the victim,
Mm, true,
right?
true, true, true.
If you're the victim, you
You're right
always be the
about it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So yeah. So I think
100%.
anybody listening to this, listen, listen. If I'm sitting here in Spain, sunny Spain, and talking about football and talking about my life here, if I can, I'm telling you, anybody can,
Yeah. All right.
right?
Thanks, Sasi, once again. Before you
Thank you.
go, who do you like us to interview next?
That's an interesting one. Wow. Interesting that you asked me that you put me on the spot here. There's a lot of what I know you've done Rafi and all that. Go back and maybe look at that '98 team, and then maybe Vincent Subramaniam. Maybe you should
Yeah,
interview
oh my
Coach
God.
Vincent.
Actually it's in the works, but
Yeah,
it's hanging at
it's
the
hard to get
moment
him.
because of his contract.
Yeah, yeah. He's
So
a he's a
I
good
gotta
one.
wait
He's
a
a
bit.
very experienced man, and I think he will tell the truth. And
Mm,
podcasts like this, I think you need to get the truth out sometimes, right? Yeah,
yeah,
and it cannot be vanilla. Cannot be
yeah,
vanilla. It has to
yeah.
be some. Yeah, I would say Coach Vincent probably would be a good one. The other one you should really consider, and I think it's a lot of thing that you get out. It's Robert Lim.
Ah, yeah,
So
yeah.
just
I
that's right.
actually during the interview when you're talking, I was thinking of this guy. Yeah, Robert Lim. Long
Yeah,
time.
Robert
It
Lim. He
would be a good
found
one.
44. He found 44 national team players over time. So
Mm,
he's worth the conversation.
yeah. Okay, for sure. If you have
Yeah,
his contact, do share with me.
I will do that.
All right. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Russ. It was a real pleasure being here, and
Yeah.
thanks for thinking of me.
All right. Welcome. Cheers, man.
Thank you.